Hello, everyone who is coming on in. We'll get started in just a couple of minutes here. I just need a second to ping some people before we get going. I hope you're having a great day. Before someone asks, not drinking beer, I'm having matcha. Matcha is delicious. I really enjoyed recording that Splinter Twin video. The analytics are telling me never do that again. It is a solid 10 out of 10, meaning it's my worst performing video of the last 10 videos. And on top of that, it is 10 out of 10 by a very large margin. It has like half of the number of views of one of my average videos. So I think that was a special treat, not the first part of a series. Maybe the analytics will kick up over time on that one, though. I'm not hopeful. Not every video can be a banger, and that's okay. That was one that I recorded for me. I enjoyed doing that. But if the audience doesn't like it, I'm not incentivized to produce more content like that. There's a little push and pull. Sometimes I'll record videos for me, but now that the channel is paying all of my bills, I do have to do the things that pay the bills. Played the Abzan Nic Fit deck and ran into a regular Nic Fit deck running 4 One Rings. Yeah, the One Ring is a busted Magic the Gathering card. So I'm going to give people like another minute or two to get in here, and then I'm going to talk about the things that we're brewing. I've got 4 different things on the sort of docket for today to tune up, and we'll see how many of them we get to. I think last time we got through 4 decks. I think there is a lot of room to wiggle around with things in the Nic Fit shell. Like, do you run Green Sun or not? Do you run the One Ring? Do you run the Learn stuff? If so, how big is the Learn board? And in what colors do you play your Nic Fit deck? There's a lot there. I think a One Ring Nic Fit deck top 8 at a challenge question mark. I saw a list. I think it either top 8 at a challenge or 5-0'd in the last week or so. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. First off, let me just do a thank you. This stream is happening because we met one of my initial donation goals for fundraising for Trans Lifeline. Let me get a real-time number here, because it keeps going up every half an hour or so. Someone makes a new donation. So the real-time number is I have raised $5,109, all of which will be matched. So the fundraiser this week has already cleared $10,000, which is kind of cool because when I initially started putting this together, I thought it was just going to be a little thing. You know, I was asked to raise $500 for Commander Sealed, and I was like, yeah, how about 2,000 as my stretch goal? And now 6,000 is the stretch goal, and there is a good chance that I will hit that by Monday, doubling to 12,000. So thanks, community. You're great. It means a lot. I have received a lot of kind words from people this week, and not a single message from a bigot that I had to delete. Not one. Fuck yeah, ThrabenU community. Thank you. Really and truly, it means a lot that I don't have to like boot those people from my community or remove hateful comments. So, thanks. So, with that being said, the first thing that I have been asked to brew around is Herald of Amity. So, 4 mana flying 2/2. When it enters, exile the top 8 cards of your library. You may cast an aura spell from among them without paying its mana cost. Then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And then the flavor text at the bottom that I don't think I care about is whenever this creature attacks, it gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of auras you control. Yeah, I know. The literal no bigots all week, not one, makes me very, very happy. Because usually every time I do fundraising for like Trans Lifeline or the Trevor Project, I have to, kick out a handful of chuds. And that just didn't happen this week. So, the thought that I had was to do curses. Because the curses are auras. So, I found this half-finished deck list on Moxfield. Shout out Moxfield. That I think I am going to use as my starting point here. So, I like a lot of what is here. There's some neat counterplay versus combo in the form of things like Curse of Exhaustion and Overwhelming Splendor can be very, very good versus Show and Tell. And we have a bunch of different ways to use a lot of mana. So, these decks often end up being about 50% mana, and we're in that general ballpark as of right now. I know this was an unfinished deck list because it didn't have a sideboard when I found it. And I'm not entirely convinced about some of the bridge cards, but I kind of like most of this stuff that's up here. Big Woke does. Yeah, Cabal Therapy feels weird to me too. So I'm not really sure that Curse of Silence is good enough for the deck. I understand that it is an aura to increase your aura density. I don't know that I'm sold on this. And I don't think we have enough creatures for Cabal Therapy to be interesting. So I think the first thing I want to do is how likely are we to hit with Herald if I have about 9 curses? I think that's thing number 1 that I want to see. All right, so we have a population size of 60 cards. You're going to look at 8 cards. What did I say? We have 9. We have 9 hits. And we only really need to see one of them. Like, dumping any of the bigger curses into play is good. So that will get us one of them 75% of the time. What does that look like if I bump this up to 10? So is it going to be 4% every time then? Yeah. 75 to 79 to 82. So this original version that I was looking at was running 12. Maybe we could do something with Animate Dead and Necro. I assume that's Necromancy to chain the eagles together. We could. I imagine that I want to do this. I don't know if we're going to be doing mid-range stuff that looks like this. I don't even know if I want this. What is our goal here? Punishing Waterfalls. Goal is brew around this card. Make Herald of Amity work. No further instructions. I assume that the curses are the easiest way to make that happen. Like, there's other things you could potentially do, but I think curses is an easy path forward. I am on board with trying to get Rector into this deck as well. Like, Rector with 2 targets. Well, 2 really, really big targets is fine, and I guess these are fine too. So, theoretically, and we're very much in everything is mutable mode right now, we would need the ways to sacrifice the Academy Rector. So classic ways to do that include things like Phyrexian Tower. We've been doing Lazotep Quarry stuff recently. The Cabal therapies can go back in the deck if Academy Rectors are in the deck. Like, that makes sense. The Barrow-Goyfs maybe don't make sense anymore. And it could be we trend away from the One Ring. Yeah, I think it's likely that the Goyfs end up in the sideboard as something you bring in when some of the pieces are bad. I'm sitting here thinking about like other things that make us want to sacrifice stuff. There's like the Eumidian hatchery style stuff. I don't really want to be in another color. Like, I don't know that I want to try to make this like Abzan Ancient Tomb deck. And I don't think the Nic Fit stuff makes the most sense. Like, I can just fill with some reasonable cards like Bowmasters, but I need more ways to kill my own Rector. I don't currently have. I could run some of the like Opper style sack a permanent draw 2 card type things, and that would be reasonable. It also might be that Herald and Curse of Misfortunes to get these big dumb things into play is enough, and I don't try Rector, and I instead do more things that interact with my opponent to get us to the late game. So we do some interactions such as Swords to Plowshares or Fatal Push in the main deck. I could also see adding more fast mana to this main deck, and considering playing Lotus Petal as well. And the plan is shove One Ring Herald, Curse of Misfortunes, and hope that they resolve and work. Yes, we are building around Herald. That is the goal here. Still very, very early on in this. Everything is mutable at this stage. I'm not overly convinced Rector is right. So theoretically, I could do something like bam. Bam. This is going to be a little bit too much mana, but this is just proof of concept. And this still leaves us with room for some more interaction, maybe a set of swords to plowshares or something. Hargan, how many slots do we need for sure with Herald and Auras? So 4 slots for the Heralds. I would say a minimum of 9 slots for the Auras. I would not mind having another 1 or 2 in here. Let's take a second and advanced search for our curses. Oh, that's gonna get the creatures too, isn't it? That like look for curses. So let's also do enchantment as well. Man, for a couple more mana, you sure get a better version of this, huh? The Curse of Fool's Wisdom is reasonable. It's not in the deck. Alright, when enchanted player is attacked, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. It doesn't seem like it's fitting in with our plan. Curse of Leeches. Beginning of enchanted player's upkeep, they lose a life and you gain a life. Or, yeah, okay. I remember that one. There's a couple different ones that could make zombies. I don't think we need Curse of Thirst. That one's kind of funny and is castable. Huh. Curse of Vengeance. Whenever enchanted player casts a spell, put a spike counter on this. When enchanted player loses the game. JK. I've lost interest. That is a commander card. I got excited for a second. Alright. I feel like we have the right curses in here. Nettlevine Blight. Let me look at that. That is indeed cute. Yeah, there's definitely other auras we can do. Like, there are other ways to build a Herald of Amity deck that do not have the curses in them. Curses just seem to me like a clearly solid starting point. Maddening Hex. That requires red, right? That's the one that used to see sideboard burn play. Yeah. That one is wild. It is, on average 3.5 damage per turn. But probably, like, not wanting to go into another color here. We could certainly replenish. I don't think that's the plan. I think that's a different deck. None of these are, like, legendary or anything, right? Play these in multiples? No, I don't have Fool's Wisdom yet. I could play a Curse of Fool's Wisdom. So I have 12 cards to turbo towards. And a lot of mana. Those 12 cards fetch me these. I could potentially, to make sure that I am hitting, play something like One More Cruel Reality, so that if I draw that, I can still randomly search it up. I don't hate that plan. The Curse of Fool's Wisdom is, I think, fine. Having some way to regain some life after taking some early hits doesn't seem terrible to me. E-Tether? Yeah, I think trying to build a replenish deck gets away from the Herald of Amity stuff. Like, that requires a bunch of, like, self-mill, Overlord of the Baelmerk, Entomb and Friends effects. I don't think that's the direction I want to go. Like, this is 59 with probably a little bit too much land. And presumably I would need to tune up the mana base a little bit. I fully just grabbed a half-built list off of Moxfield that someone had. Kind of want a Sheoldred style card to go with the One Ring. But it feels like this deck has an advantage from not actually playing any creatures it cares about it getting removed. Like, this is just cheat a scary enchantment into play. This is not something that I expect to attack and win with basically ever. Epic Fall, thank you very much. Full time is fun. I get to do stuff like raise money for charity that I didn't have much time for before. Actually, Inquisition of Kozilek won't hit Force of Will, which feels like a major thing for this deck. I wonder if this deck wants, like, Game 1 Disruptor Flute. Or maybe Game 1 Duress as a singleton. Yeah. So I imagine that we just kind of get bodied by Wasteland, and that is what that is. Wonder if we don't even pretend. Go up those. I don't think I like Silent Clearing. I don't think I like the life loss in my One Ring deck. Might just, like, go up. Maybe I need a black basic. Yeah, Swamp is fine. Or it could just be one Urborg. I might just physically need another fetchable. In which case, all of these should be black. Does the deck want a removal spell on an aura? So let's think about what sees play in Enchantress. Those are mostly things that care about you having, I think, either plains or snow-covered lands. Pattern of Rebirth. Is this another aura reanimation thing? Oh, yeah. Nah, I'll pass on that. Stab Wound. That's the 3-mana one, right? Was that, like, RTR block? I remember drafting with this a lot. Yeah. No, I remember. So this was, like, very, very good in the Rakdos aggro decks, right? With, like, the Unleash stuff. You just go hyper aggressive, and this either kills the thing that's in your way or is 2 burn per turn. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Let's get some of these in here to actually get that card. So if I hypothetically were going to make this work, I would need a significant number of snowlands in the deck. So we'd probably be looking at mostly trying to play basic lands, which eyeballing the mana base that's got an Ancient Tomb in it and probably wants a couple of Surveil lands, I don't know if that works out. We will do a Heartless Summoning deck separately later. That is on the docket for today. So I suspect that a lot of the things that look like this at 2 mana are worse than just playing Swords to Plowshares. That is my guess without playing it. And while, like, yes, technically they can be Herald of Amity hits, I don't know that I'm excited about hitting a fucking ossification off of my Haymaker. I don't think is Oubliette's wording is weird as hell. I don't know where that has settled in terms of errata. Yeah, it is not an aura, despite functioning very, very similarly to one. Let's just pull up a Scryfall page just to see what that original card looks like, because I remember its wording was all sorts of weird on that original. Select a creature in play when Oubliette is cast. That creature is considered out of play for as long as Oubliette is in play. Hence, the creature cannot be the target of spells and cannot receive damage. Use special powers, attack, or defend. All counters and enchantments on the creature remain, but are also out of play. If Oubliette is removed, creature returns to play tapped. Yeah, no special powers for you, chat. All right, let's goldfish this a little bit and see how it feels. I suspect that we're a little heavy on mana, but just as a starting point versus. Let's see how this does. Ryan, ping me about that card when I'm done goldfishing a couple of games. I have to look it up. Yeah, I would keep the fuck out of this hand. So, depending on what we were playing against, I might take a turn to Thoughtseize, depending on what I see. Otherwise, on turn 1, we're just jamming. So I do the thing, I draw a card, I lose some life, draw some more cards. I can Curse of Death's Hold immediately on turn 2. Could probably take a turn to Thoughtseize here, depending on what my opponent was doing. So I either Thoughtseize or play Curse of Deathhold, depending on whether they are combo or not. And on this next turn, I would play a Herald. So I could be more efficient with Dark Ritual mana here, but let's just see what this hits when I spin the wheels. 8 cards. All right. What did we say the chances of that happening were? So I have 11 hits. Oop. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so sample size, 8 cards. Successes in population, 11. So it's about an 18% chance to miss. And we can move that up about 3% for each time that we do a thing. Unfortunate. Goldfish a couple more games. Yeah, I would keep this hand. This is relatively interactive. So let's say turn 1, I Thoughtseize my opponent, which I'm not going to do because I would Thoughtseize myself in the goldfishing mode here. Turn 2, I would further duress my opponent and do Shadowy Backstreet. I would know whether or not I need this card. Let's say that I don't for the purposes of goldfishing. And then on this turn, I would play Curse of Misfortunes after punching a hole and be pretty confident that this card would win the game. For giggles, though, let's cast another Herald of Amity and see if we hit. Yeah, see, there we go. I have to attach it to myself for the purposes of goldfishing. That would have been a very, very strong game. And yes, a lot of decks cannot beat an Overwhelming Splendor. And that is the hope of playing something like Curses. Okay. This is a hand that I would probably keep on the strength of Thoughtseize. So I would Thoughtseize my opponent on turn 1. On turn 2, I would Surveil with one of the copies of Shadowy Backstreet. Yeah, that's totally fine. So then on turn 3, I go bam, bam, bam. We imprint one of these, and I shove the curse. So I saw someone in chat asking, like, do you just win with the curses? Like, do you care about the Herald attacking? And the answer is no. Explaining why. So first, you turn all of their creatures into 1/1s that lose all of their abilities. Then, all their 1/1s are dead forever. Then, you start clocking them for 5 damage a turn. And if they are a combo deck, you can potentially limit them to 1 spell per turn as well. You don't need to resolve anything else if you resolve a Curse of Misfortunes. Like, if that resolves and sticks, you are golden. How do we not lose to Tron Ugening? Look, every deck in the format is trying to beat Tron right now and not doing a great job. When we're brewing around fucking Herald of Amity, we're gonna have to just let some things go. Ryan, thank you. Songbird's Blessing. Grant creature, when it attacks, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an aura card. That's fascinating. Huh. So you're saying I could put this on my opponent's creature, and then when it would attack, I would get an aura. Fascinating. I mean, it's another hit for the Herald, but we're very bad at using it ourselves. Yeah, if I build the deck with more creatures, that's a legitimate avenue. I think a lot of people might keep in some creature removal versus us anyway, anticipating that we're going to have stuff like Barogoyf or Academy Rector or something. I don't know how crazy the juke is there. Yeah, Songbirds hitting another Songbirds doesn't feel good. That's a very good point. Alright, hypothetically, assuming that we move forward with this main deck, what does the sideboard actually look like? Imagine I don't want that. I imagine I want more 4 combo decks of some kind. I don't know that it is Vine Break Trap. Things like Deafening Silence and Disruptor Flute seem like the sort of stuff that I want. What did I run? Curse of Unbinding. That is very funny. That is very, very funny. It feels completely unnecessary. But I'll think about it. Sure, it does seem good against, like, the big creature decks. Is it better than just running another Overwhelming Splendor? Like, if I wanted something that I would put in off of Show and Tell, is that answer not just Overwhelming Splendor? Like, a Show and Tell deck can attack you with a 1/1 Atraxa 20 times to kill you? I might, like, actually just play 2 more of these in the sideboard. Like, I wonder if... what's the 5 mana? Death's Hold? I wonder if some number of slots in the sideboard is just additional copies of the curses that are reasonable to hardcast. At the point where they get an Ugin in play. Like, if they successfully get an Ugin into play, I assume that my deck just loses. Like, Disruptor Flute doesn't beat that card, assuming that I'm running roughly a playset of those in the sideboard. I'm not Bowmastering. Not super interested in that. I could run more removal in the sideboard. I could run more discard in the sideboard. Have we considered simply asking them, pretty please, not cast Ugin? Good call, good call. Disruptor Flute is something super flexible that I can play and board 4x Swords to Plowshares out for every time the swords are bad. I'm very slow versus something like Doomsday. Faithbound Judge. Alright, remember this art. Disturb is the cast from the graveyard thing, right? Where you cast it as the backside. This seems slow as hell. Like, as much as cards that say that player loses the game on them are fun, if I'm not giving my opponent any other removal targets, this seems pretty bad. What are the matchups for the sideboard Barrowglyphs? I imagine you would just play them as reasonable cards to cast in matchups like Delver, where your opponent is gunning for your life total. An alternative route to sideboard could just be, for the fair matchups, have 5 removal spells in the sideboard that I can board in the slots of Thoughtseize and Duress. Like some number of erodes and fatal pushes and whatnot. Could Goyf be better than main deck rings? I don't think so, because we're going super heavy on the mana with the hope of resolving one of 12 cards that will win us the game on their own. And if we're not giving our opponent removal targets, the Goyfs just eat it to the first fatal push or Swords to Plowshares without winning us the game. Lancelot, I saw Angel's Grace in the sideboard of some deck, I think in the 5-0 deck list dumps in the last week. It's not a total crazy person thing to do, but it's very niche. Ruby Roo, I have been impressed with Erode in fair decks. The ability to have another instant speed removal spell that can hit anything and has the upside of hitting Karns and Tamios and Ugins and whatnot is pretty big. And playing Erode somewhere in the 75 could just legitimately mean that you have some outs to a Karn or an Ugin. I don't know that this Barrowglyph plan is better than just playing 4 more removal spells. Like, you have 4 removal spells to bring in for discard effects. You have 4 Disruptor Flutes to bring in for swords, and you kind of have this clear, like, if one of these is bad, go this way. If the other is bad, go that way plan. I don't know that it's for erodes. I'm going to just put those in as a placeholder for a minute. I'm going to make sure I remember what Helm of the Hosts is. Oh, singular helm. But I'm thinking that's like the commander equipment. Yeah. That is 5 to equip. What are we doing? What are we doing? Yeah, I don't hate something like 2 Toxic Deluge. Or like a pest control or something in some of the slots where these erodes are. I want to be a little careful. Oh, you meant Helm of Obedience. That makes a lot more sense. Wrath of the Skies is the other one you're thinking about. White could be tough. Yeah. Generally speaking, I am not a fan of sideboard Helm of Obedience when you are bringing in Leyline of the Void. Historically speaking, that hasn't been great as a strategy most of the time. All right. In the timeline where we play, hypothetically, 4 Erode in the sideboard, it may make sense to put a basic plains back into the deck. Carl, I was eyeing Boggart Trawler myself. So we could do something that looks like that. We are heavy on mana relative to Stompy norms. We're at 32 as opposed to like 28 to 30. But we are trying to hardcast a 5-drop and 2 different 4-drops. For what we are trying to accomplish, this is probably pretty reasonable. Yeah, this in fact has 2 Surveil lands in it. I think that is important given how much mana we have in this deck. And then 2 of the Polluted Deltas should become white fetches. And we win fast enough to outpace our One Rings. Probably. Like, this gives us 2 life a turn if we put this into play. And Cruel Reality is a 4-turn clock by itself. So I think we will outpace our One Rings. Or we do the like age-old trick of like just cast the next One Ring and we don't draw with it. Andrew, is sideboard Trinisphere crazy? No, I don't think that's crazy, actually. We have a lot of mana. Huh. That's actually a really fascinating idea. With Dark Ritual, Chrome Mox, Ancient Tomb, and Lotus Petal, that's actually like super reasonable. Because this isn't a cast, right? This is a put into play. Oh fuck, this is a cast. Okay. I was briefly interested in the Trinisphere plan. I am now less interested. Very good thought, though. Deafening Silence is reasonable. I am not sure that it is better than the more generic Disruptor Flute, though. Alright, chat. Any other ideas that have not come up yet, or any finishing touches here? I think I am now happy enough with this one that I would be willing to play it on the channel. Did we discuss Beseech? No, we didn't. I think Beseech not getting Curse of Misfortunes feels like a deal breaker to me. That's gonna hit the commander cards too. Ah, there's only one other one. So this doesn't let you directly cast your big haymakers, and it doesn't let us cast this. Like, and I'm not excited about the variance of Beseech into Herald. Salvation, generally speaking, I have been unhappy in trying to make Eldrazi Conscription works. I think many, many years ago, probably like 7 years ago at this point, I think I made it work once with, I want to say the card's name is something like Thunderkin Elemental, where it's like some elemental with haste, and when it attacks, you can bring an aura back from your graveyard or something like that. I think I had one league where that went well. Um, Damping Sphere is reasonable. I think Flute's better. We'll certainly talk about some Nic Fit style stuff today. All right. Black, white, curses, final. I'm just going to take 30 seconds and upload that to Moxfield. You all can start thinking about Heartless Summoning. Need to export this differently. Better like this. Oh, whoops. Switch screens. All right, beautiful. Delated, thank you. Thunderkin Awakener is the name of the card I was thinking of. Appreciate it. All right. Deck number 2 we are going to try to brew today is any Heartless Summoning deck. So I have permission to kind of go wide with the ideas here, because I think a lot of the stuff that is in this deck is quite bad. But I'm going to show off what the donor submitted. So the donor's idea here is that by playing Heartless Summoning, cards that look like Eye Twitch and Veteran Explorer can instantly go to the graveyard and do their effects. And in the past, Heartless Summoning has been used in this way for infinite combos. The donor's idea was to use Heartless Summoning as kind of a consistent ritual to power out creatures ahead of curve. So, we've got any direction we can go with it. I would kind of like to do this fair plan. And my thought here is that we can play a ton of cards that look like Chaos Defiler and discount them via Heartless Summoning. And a Chaos Defiler at 3 mana is kind of wild. So, like, that would read as a 3 mana 4/3 that can potentially nuke 2 different permanents, which is kind of cool. Of the stuff the donors submitted here, I do not think Hogak makes sense. I think it's going to be very, very hard to cast that card because you're frequently going to kill your own Eye Twitches and Veteran Explorers, meaning that that's off the table. I don't hate the things that look like Alpha Deathclaw. Like, you could, in theory, play a deck that has a top end of 4 Chaos Defiler, 4 Alpha Deathclaw. And, it's wild. You just get to destroy so many different permanents. I am not overly sold on something like Vaultborn Tyrant as opposed to just things like Alpha Deathclaw. And I don't really know that we want to go up this big. All right. What is chat saying here? Rick, that's interesting cheaper. I don't know that I'm into that. Marvin, Murderous, something or other. All right, I don't know what that card does. Murderous Mimic. Activated abilities of all creatures you control that don't have the same name as this creature. I don't think I'm sold on that. Pipe, Soup, Malevolent Rumble, Barrogoyf, Pyrogoyf. Ooh, Barrogoyf, Pyrogoyf is spicy. Barrogoyf, Pyrogoyf is cool. Yeah, so in terms of deck design, one of our biggest goals is to make the deck functional if we don't have Heartless Summoning. And that is going to mean interacting with our opponents in the early game. So we're going to need some amount of Thoughtseize, Lightning Bolt, Abrupt Decay, Fatal Push. We're gonna need some of that stuff to make it to the late game. But our late game could stop at like 4. Knight Incarnate. Heartless Summoning Jund, let's fucking go. 2020 Magic is peak. Evoking that for 2 mana is interesting. But I think it is just a bad card when you just cast it as a 3/4 Death Toucher. Genesis Hydra. Generally speaking, I have not been impressed by Hydras in Legacy. Reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put a non-land permanent with mana value X or less from among them onto the battlefield. I don't know about that. So I'm just going to delete this entire top end. Barrogoyf, Pyrogoyf. Let's assume I do Overlord to help fuel the graveyard. Move this over there for right now. I think I still... Moloch is on MTGO. I think I still play Malevolent Rumble, despite the fact that sometimes Heartless Summoning kills the token. I have fully not gotten started thinking about those one-drop creatures yet. I don't know that we need to get cute with extra card types. If we, you know, have like 4 or 5 Goyfs, I'm perfectly happy with that. So like land instant sorcery creature is already pretty good. So one of the problems here is that I can't play Mana Dorks to accelerate. Ignoble Hierarchs and Badgermole Cubs and such don't make sense in a deck with Heartless Summoning. Okay, Delighted Halfling is colorless mana towards my creatures? Uh, like, I'm kind of into this stuff on, and I think the Thought Seizes are definitely making it into the deck, and some amount of removal is making it into the deck. Cut green and play rituals. I am certainly not married to green. This deck does not need to be green if I take Veteran Explorer out of it. And I am not entirely sure that the Veteran Explorer iTwitch stuff is the best thing that I can be doing. So basically the stuff in these 2 columns here, I am on board with cutting. If I want more top end beyond Pyrogoyf, Barogoyf, Overlord, I could also play Chaos Defilers. Could we be a Nethergoyf deck too? I mean, we could go hard on the self-mill. Yeah, 6 is interesting. I'm mostly trying to figure out, like, what are we doing before we get to these cards? Thoughtseize for sure. Like, what are our colors here? I could play just spitballing here. I'm gonna shove all of this stuff into the sideboard for a minute. Orcish Bowmaster sucks with Heartless Summoning. JK, I abandon this idea. The Cabal Therapy Bowmaster's angle is not good. I am not worried. I'm a potato. I'm not worried about extra top end here. I am worried about what we are doing in the first 3 turns of the game. Cryptic Trilobite. No. Yes, hard casting Fury early is definitely interesting. I am unsure what our red count is going to look like for pitch casting that card. I'll shove those into the sideboard. So presumably we do something that looks like this. Or Fatal Push, like two Sheoldred's Edict. I do not believe that we're going to end up running Soul Lands in this deck. So at least 6 main deck removal spells. I might do more if I'm trying to get in there with Pyroglyphs. One red mana Magus of the Moon, fuck you, is certainly funny. Like, is that an angle I actually want this deck to take? Is we are just Rakdos, Blood Moon, Heartless Summoning. Playing a 2/2 is really awkward in the Heartless Summoning world because they are 1/1s, and then your 2/2s die to Orcish Bowmasters on the other side of the battlefield. The Moon Shadow type cards don't work here because of Heartless Summoning. So I can't just, like, fill the deck with some of that stuff. Douthies don't really make sense. I make it a Gyruda deck. So here's my problem with that. Your starting deck only contains cards with even mana values. This is just the best card in this deck at this time, right? Is the Thoughtseize. So even if only taking Thoughtseize out of the deck was the concern, I think that would automatically discount Gyruda as reasonable. I don't quite remember Sig Ceremony. I remember it's jumping through hoops, but I don't quite remember what kind of hoops. Unless I am specifically only going infinite combo route, I don't like this. If we're trying to use Heartless Summoning in a fair capacity, I don't like Sig Ceremony. So, questions that I currently have. How are we getting more card types into Graveyard? The answer is probably play a few Lightning Bolts or a few more Sorceries. And how am I getting card advantage? Not Dark Confidant. I can tell you that. Price of Progress is funny. I have not been impressed by Faithless Looting as a fair card. I cut that from a lot of decks that people send to me. I just think the value is not there. Like, Faithless Looting into Reanimate is very different from Faithless Looting, and a few turns later my Barrelgoyf is a little bigger. Ursa is fine. Fable of the Mirrorbreaker doesn't get discounted and is making a 1/1 that dies to Bowmasters. Saga seems bad. Your constructs are going to be 1/1s, and activating Saga eats up your mana so that you're not casting your big dome stuff. Mirror Superion used to be one of the things you did with Heartless Summoning in Standard. So the gimmick there was you're not actually using any mana to cast it, it's just free, so you completely ignore its text. Alright. I'm not feeling great about this. Go to MTG Top 8 and see the last time a Heartless Summoning deck did well. I might need to end up on a different website, realistically speaking. Oh, one Nic Fit deck in 2024. Esser Golkalp. Good job. Oh, this was in Charlotte. I know this store. Doom Whisperer. Wow. Okay. Oh, I see. This was a grief pile. Grief, Cabal Therapy, Ephemerating. Winter Moon? Jesus. Okay. Players can't untap more than one non-basic land during their untap steps. What a fucking wild deck. Yargle and Multani, mostly as something that you can just pitch to Grief and presumably... No, not... I was expecting Force of Vigor. Dragon's Rage Channeler and Baubles, that's certainly an angle. Yeah, fair Yargle and Multani. Just 4 mana, 18/6. Chonk in there, Frog Spirit Elemental. Thought-Knot Seer seems hard to cast. We require the colorless for that one. Yeah, initiative is card advantage. I can just play a crap ton. Is there anything going into blue? And just, like, playing some blue nonsense? Get flow state? Blue doesn't really seem like it would benefit from Heartless Summoning. Ancient Cellar Spawn? Is that the thing with Dark Depths? No, that's the damage thing. Whenever you cast a spell, if the mana value... Yeah. That's only, like, burning for, like, 2 each time? Quantum Riddler? Quantum Riddler is interesting. It feels like that's just kind of... 3 mana to hard cast that? I mean, this is realistically a deck that could just sideboard Price of Progress if I end up being 2 colors. Null Drifter style cards are definitely cute. I think... Yeah, sure, Heartless Summoning is definitely better as a combo card, but in my experience, the cards that you have to play to combo with Heartless Summoning are big stinky dog doo-doo. Like, you do not want a Mirror Retriever in your deck at any time where you do not have the Heartless Summoning in play already. And we're trying to build a reasonably interactive deck. Alright, what is this card? Arnin? Recognize this art. Whenever a creature you control with power or toughness 1 or less dies, target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 1 life. Sure, that's like a combo angle, for sure. Yeah, I suppose we're not married to our colors. Like, the black has to happen for Heartless Summoning. Like, we could be Dimir. I don't hate the Quantum Riddler idea. I don't hate, like, jamming Magus and Opposition Agent and friends. Alright, I'm gonna think for just a second and run to the bathroom. Feel free to continue to throw ideas in chat. I'll be back in, like, 2 minutes. All right. What have you come up with, chat? Green black shell with 6 as an engine. Trap trawler with lotus petals. Okay. OG Maryland. Okay. There's a decent chance that Dark Writ ends up in the deck. Black white. Slap in Big Thalia, Clarion Conqueror, Seasoned Dungeoneer. Okay, okay. Emrakul the Promised End and find more types to put into the bin. Alright. We have some ideas. Everything feels medium. Brewing around Heartless Summoning is hard. I'm gonna see if I can find any modern Heartless Summoning decks. Format. Modern. Heartless Summoning. Oh, there are not many. Dragons. Good God. Gitrog monster. Alright, 5-color ephemerate nonsense. Oh, we went big. Avalanche Riders? What year is this? Okay, 2023. This is a 99-player event. Good job. Alright. I don't think that helps me. 1-mana Muldrifter is a thing. 3-mana Golos is a thing. Relic of Legends. Some Mana Rock. Oh, this was a small, like, 26-player event, I see. Warval, the Overform. Wild. Alright. No. That's just... That is indeed dragons. I don't even know some of these. I cast it from your graveyard if a creature not named this died this turn. 2-mana Flash Dragon. Alright. No. No. Yeah, not impressed by what I'm seeing from dragons. Alright, what about Gitrog Monster? Zeusa! Okay, so this is essentially Landfall, where Ramunap, Excavator, and friends let you play all of your creatures for very, very cheap. 14-player event. Rough. Alright, what about this one? So this one is doing the same sort of thing. And this is Big Eldrazi. Ramping to stuff like Worldbreaker. Alright, overall, kind of medium. I'm gonna try doing some searching a different way. I'm finding my own Heartless Summoning decks from the past. Well, Jack, hello and welcome. Nice to have you here. We are Probably going to end well north of $10,000 raised for charity, so I am happy that my efforts did not go unnoticed by the community. Oh, hold on. Ice Till Explorer is interesting. Like Ice Till Explorer Wasteland 2 color deck. That could maybe go somewhere. We're gonna still have the same questions of like what are we doing in the early game. Dark Ritual is not like perfect there. I'm trying to avoid the combo stuff, as the number of bad cards you have to put in your deck to make that work is very, very, very high. I am trying to submit 56 solid-looking Magic the Gathering cards and 4 Heartless Summonings that make those cards look slightly better. That's conceptually where I'm at. Grief is not legal in this format anymore. Be specific about airbending cards. What are you talking about? Like Appa? Is that the name of that thing? No, this one? So you can airbend your own stuff and then ask them again for free. That is very funny. And it's a way to reuse triggers. Yeah, the Ice Till idea is pretty cool too. Ajani and the cat are instantly, well, I guess the cat is instantly dying to Heartless Summoning, which transforms Ajani, which is kind of interesting. So, like, in just brewing here, what does it look like if we do Ice Till Explorer and 6? Is this going to actually bring up this card, or is this going to bring up everything in the world with number 6? Fuck. Is 6 the full name of that card? Ugh. Fucking A Magic Online. Ah. There we go. So, in theory, oh, I already have 4 of those. One is just over there. So, in theory, we can replay things from graveyard. But specifically, it's the permanents. Which means I could play some things like Pyrite Spell Bombs. Yeah, we can get the Heartless Summoning back from the graveyard. I don't know what the rest of this looks like. Alright, you go over there. What does Aang look like? And which Aang? Are we talking about Swift Savior? Alright, so hypothetically, let's say I play 4 of those. Let's say I do Quantum Riddler as well. And I want Appa. This one. So our combo here is just that we are going to create infinite creatures that all die to Heartless Summoning. Uh, Generally speaking, Trinisphere happens last. Additions and reductions happen before setting, like Trinisphere. I am not convinced by this like 3-card infinite combo that's going to require a 4th card to work. This is a tough nut to crack. Yeah, it may just be that we go value-oriented, actual factual Bloodbraid Elf style cards. Yeah, 6 Ice Tail Tireless Tracker is definitely a thing. And Tireless Tracker is an okay way to make creatures larger. That's, I guess, still going to have the problem of it dies versus opposing Bowmaster because it starts as a 3/2. Then it'll become a 2/1. Alright. Get this stuff out of here. It feels to me like these could probably be the only creatures in the deck, or pretty close to it. And that most of the other slots could be for interaction. The Chaos Defilers and the Pyroglyphs are both removal spells. The Barrowglyphs and Overlords cantrip, and these are all decently sized creatures. We can play some number of things that will help the Glyphs grow while remaining in black-red and be a deck that can do something like 4x Price of Progress or Magus of the Moon, like that sort of stuff. I just still don't feel like I have cracked this. The Heartless Summoning making Overlord and Chaos Defilers a turn 3 play is very good. It might just be that the deck needs something like Fable to hold it together. Fable copying any of these things is gross. That's also another enchantment. It doesn't get discounted by Heartless Summoning. It's another enchantment that can hit the graveyard. I guess my number of Overlord hits is a little small. Would play Bolts here. Oh, Hexing Squelcher. Yeah. Good call. Good call, Carl. I think I am okay with that being smaller. Welter dying to Bowmasters is still sad. It may just be that I have to take an L somewhere. Fable also lets you loot away redundant copies of Heartless Summoning. We are trying to build anything around Heartless Summoning. We're struggling. This is a tough challenge. Redwood, I think our answer is we're clearly mid-range. So, like, we are trying to be the bigger deck in a lot of cases. So for Goyfs, I've got sorceries and instants Creatures and enchantments and lands. I'm gonna have to scrap this entire mana base. Alright. From scratch. Bye Bayous. Hello Bloodstained Mires. Probably going to want like 8-ish fetches. Bloodstains, Verdance. 2 red fetches. Probably a theater. There's varying degrees of crazy I can go with basic lands in trying to make Price of Progress work in post-sideboard games. I imagine a minimum of 2 of each of these is probably going to be a good idea. Just being resilient versus Wasteland sounds good to me. Maybe a playset of those. And do a 9th fetch of some kind. I think I'm not doing Wastelands. I think I want my land drops. Magus is indeed cool. Like, I can play... Bloop. I'll need 2 more. Fuck Takenuma. Hard shit. Bam. That's 9 fetches. 7 of which get the basic swamps. That could set us up pretty well for sideboard Magus or Price of Progress or both. Could play a second theater. Is there a black-red Horizon Canopy land? I think there's not, right? Because that cycle's not complete. Dash for 2 mana is cute. Okay, yeah, there's no black-red canopy. Okay. Miser's Wasteland. I don't hate a singleton utility land of some kind. Probably don't want it to be Boggart Trawler that dies to Heartless Summoning. One, Miser's Dark Depths. That is certainly an option. I don't know that Bojuka Bog makes sense. The single Lazotep to bring back stuff from the graveyard. That feels weird. I don't know that I'm into Lava Claw Reaches. I'm not coming up with anything. I could play a Singleton Urborg. Although that might help my opponents out more than it hurts me. Alright. I like this general idea enough to move forward with it. Oh, just like Singleton Utility Caracas is not crazy, just as an anti-Tameo tool. Or Singleton Ancient Tomb. Singleton Ancient Tomb is not crazy. I will buy that. Let's build a sideboard, chat. How are we feeling on the Magus of the Moon Price of Progress spectrum? Arena of Glory is another good Singleton land option. Hieroglyph with haste is kind of gross. Davin, you're thinking of Obsidian Charmaw. I'm not sure whether or not I like Ancient Tomb better than that. If I'm running 3 basic swamps, maybe it's awkward. I'm on the fence there. Ryan, and that's the secret. We are trying to build a deck that plays reasonable Magic the Gathering when you do not have Heartless Summoning, which is why I was trying to avoid the combo piles, because they just don't function when you don't have the Heartless Summoning. You're a little worried that Fatal Push isn't actually that good. I mean, we need removal, right? Fatal Push hits most non-Murktide Regent threats in the format. Like, I think you need something to get you out of the early game into the range where Pyroglyphs and Chaos Defilers can start removing the things that Push doesn't. Push gets a little worse if we board Magus. think it's not a good price of progress deck. Not enough early pressure on life total. I don't think we're running all 8 of those. Carl, I think a split is likely. I think we might do something like this. I'm going to resort this by mana value. Look at that. So I want some amount of like lightning bolt, red elemental blast type stuff in the sideboard. It's probably pyroblast. Like 3-ish copies of that. And I'm going to need something that can answer artifacts here. Is it suplex? This exiles the One Ring specifically. I don't think we need to get cute with our cards and keep Heartless Summoning in mind. Yeah, Cast into the Fire is reasonable as well. I'm just going to put one of these in the sideboard so I can copy it if I want to. I could also just choose to skimp on Graveyard Hate for this deck. And play a couple more pieces of discard for matchups like Doomsday, like play a few Inquisitions. I could also play something fair like Disruptor Flute. I could also, like, if I'm running Magus, Voidmere gets much worse. Hidetsugu consumes all. Hold up. It's been a hot minute. I'm... Neat. Does kill a lot of stuff. It's very, very slow as Graveyard Hate. Which is like fine versus the flow state decks and not fine versus the other stuff. Yeah, this falls into the category of cool as hell, but like maybe not what we actually need. No, Sheldred's not that bad. I wonder if this deck wants like Grafdigger's Cage over Leyline of the Void, because you kind of want your opponent to have graveyards for the Pyroglyph, Baroglyph stuff. And then you get some overlap for like Elves matchups, or more realistically, Cradle Control. So we have ways to steal games versus Tron, but this might not be fast enough. I would need to punch a hole with discard first. We have reasonable tools versus a blue deck. I maybe need to either drop the price of progress or play an additional fair removal spell here in the sideboard. I don't know that I get to play something super narrow in this sideboard. I'm not, a blue-white deck that has like Ponder, Preordain, Brainstorm, Flow State to dig towards singletons. I think I want redundancy. A Pyroclasm style effect is not crazy. Or a Toxic Deluge style card, actually. Is this sweeper for artifacts and 3 damage? Yeah, I don't hate that. A little awkward if I sweep my Hexing Squelchers and whatnot. Sunspine Lynx is a reasonable Magic the Gathering card when you have Heartless Summoning, and a pretty bad one when you don't. I played a lot of Sunspire Lynx in Commander. It's a fine card that feels broken when you start like copying it or whatever. These both exile, right? Yeah. All right, maybe I don't get to do Magus and Price. Let's play another copy of Brotherhood's End. And then I might play like one more Inquisition in the sideboard for combo. Grafdigger's Cage will hit some of the like Echo stuff too. I guess I should Goldfish this 1 or 2 times to see if 21 lands feels like enough as well. It may be with this much top end, the deck needs a touch more mana. I should like drop a Fable for another land or something. Goldfish this a few times. Alright, I would keep this 2 mana hand. I would fetch a Badlands probably. No, I could probably get a basic. And Thoughtseize my opponent on turn 1. On turn 2, I would play one of Thoughtseize or Sheoldred's Edict. On turn 3, I would miss my land drop and be sad. Alright. There's a 0-lander. There's a 1-lander. I might have answered my own question. That would be a great opening hand. Keep something that looks like this in a card in either direction. I would immediately Fable. And then do some looting. The Fable would bridge me towards casting Chaos Defiler immediately, which is kind of cool. Let's assume I don't need the Squelcher at this stage. Oh god. Yeah, the treasure tokens catapulting me forward here is crazy. That would have been a gross game of Magic, despite, like, needing an initial mulligan. I guess I'd keep that. I can Inquisition myself here to put the card in graveyard because I don't actually have anything it hits. I would do Inquisition. This deck is going to be so good on the hands that it draws Heartless Summoning and then just turns all of this shit into a turn 3 play. Alright. Alright. So I would do this, and then... Yeah, I imagine that playing Chaos Defiler into Giant Pyroglyph just kills my opponent. Yeah, the Ancient Tomb felt very good there. Yeah, I would keep the shit out of this. So, turn 1, I Fatal Push something. Turn 2, I Squelch. Turn 3, I potentially just Barrogoyf. It's very small right now from my stuff alone. Presumably I have put Fatal Push and a creature into the graveyard. Yeah, this looks fine. Oh yeah, in that case, I could play Heartless Summoning and then Barrogoyf for 1 mana. Absolutely. This I would mulligan. This I would absolutely keep. I probably do that. The turn 1, I Thoughtseize my opponent. Turn 2, I Squelch. And then on turn 3, I have Barrogoyf for Fable. Okay. This is proof of concept. This is probably pretty close to good. I think I'm going to go down a Chaos Defiler or an Ancient Tomb. I think opening up Barrogoyf and Fable more frequently as turn 2 plays is probably a pretty good idea. And then I think I'm pretty happy with this. Before we move on to the next one, chat, do we have any final thoughts here? Or should I cut something else over the Chaos Defiler and keep the Chaos Defiler as top end? Like, we could play 3 Squelchers or move the 1 Inquisition to the board. Chaos Defiler is 60 ticks because it was only printed in the Warhammer 40k precon, which Wizards of the Coast does not have the property rights to reprint. Because they fucked up with their licensing the first time they did Universes Beyond, which is why it took so long for the Warhammer 40k cards to get to Magic Online, and why some of the Doctor Who cards are still not on Magic Online, I believe. And I know some of the Marvel ones still aren't there as well. I could potentially run 3 Squelchers. It is nice to not have to worry about days on my big dumb creatures, though. Like, for sure. Getting my Pyroglyphs and Chaos Defilers to resolve versus a tempo deck is a big deal. I'm gonna do that. It seems like if I add an extra Ancient Tomb into the deck, and I'm trying to play Heartless Summoning, I should keep my top end. One Saw in Half for good luck. Is Inquisition better than Duress? I buy that Duress is better. Because Inquisition misses the payoffs of Tron specifically. How does Saw in Half Pyroglyph work? The opponent dies. Is usually the answer to that question. It could be that I don't play a full playset of Magus of the Moon, and I run like 3 of them, and play one more Duress. Spread the sideboard out a little bit. Dreams of Steel. Nah, I don't like that. That's gonna miss the Planeswalkers. Alright. I am comfortable enough with that we can probably call that good. Give me just a moment. That one over to Moxfield. All right, someone wanted to talk about Nic Fit earlier. Well, it's here. This one is probably close-ish to being good. This one was a tier 2, so it was mostly ready to go. All right, so this deck is specifically a Nic Fit deck that also features Academy Rector. It is only playing a few enchantments to get. So there's a Bahamut, which also doubles as a thing that you can put in versus a Show and Tell, and an Overwhelming Splendor as the big things to get. And then there's an Overlord as kind of a, like, oh, hey, I've drawn some of the other things. I just randomly need something else to do. And in this shell, a road can hit your Academy Rectors. So, as far as ways to get rid of our stuff, we have Witherbloom Charm, and Erode, and Phyrexian Tower, and Lazotep Quarry. So, we just need to adjust this one. So, if we play Veteran Explorer on 1 and sack it to Phyrexian Tower on 2, we, in theory, have 2 lands plus 2 from Veteran Explorer plus 2 from the lands whichever thing I didn't say. 2 lands plus 2 from Veteran Explorer plus 2 from Phyrexian Tower. We can go to 6 on turn 2 and immediately cast Academy Rector or Overlord of the Baelmerk. Warlock. I don't think we want Desperate Plea in the main deck. I think this is a card that we are very, very happy to tutor for, but as a card, a lot of times I would rather just draw in a road or something that just says, no, your thing is gone, without having to jump through a hoop. Because in the situations where you don't actually have your creature on board, drawing Desperate Plea is very, very, very bad. Oh, yeah, you're right. I go to 5, not 6, thank you. Double counted Phyrexian Tower. So, in terms of doing finessing here, I imagine that I want the 4 Thoughtseize in the main deck. I imagine I can probably go down 1 Professor without missing it. Darth, I am currently having website trouble. I got it fixed this morning, and then it crashed again. So feel free to just email me directly if you want to do a donation deck list. In theory, my tech guy will get that back up later today. So that is my email, both to contact me and for PayPal purposes. Baseline donation deck list price is $50 if you have the deck more or less ready, and throw another $10 on if it needs some tweaking. Peg. I did look at Bosch's deck list earlier today, but it was like a Yorian deck list, and there was a lot going on there. So no, not a same basis. I got this list sent to me like this. I think the core deck is going to stay the same. This is just tuning this up a tiny bit. So far, I have changed a Thoughtseize into a Professor. I don't know if you get to play Double Tower and Lazotep Quarry. Like, that is 3, biggest possible air quotes here, 3 colorless lands in the Abzan deck. Like, the deck has 4 therapies, erodes, Witherbloom, Charm, also to kill its stuff. What makes you feel it needs tuning? Well, the person sent it to me and said it needs tuning. So I'm taking their word for it. I don't think it needs significant tuning for what it's worth. And I imagine that more of the tuning is going to be in the sideboard than anything else. I kind of like turning this into this, at the very least. No, this one feels pretty close to playable as is. This is fine tuning slots rather than the rebuilds we've done for the last couple. There's not a surveil land in here as is. That's something I could consider. Like, I don't hate turning Phyrexian Tower into a colored source. That would be okay. I'm gonna start looking at the sideboard. So, in extremely long games, it is possible that we draw both our big enchantments, at which case we can Overlord. There are some timelines where we mill over those cards as well with Barrowgoyfs. In trying to keep the deck playing as like tight of a game of Legacy as possible in the times where you don't have Academy Rector, keeping the count of big uncastable things low is pretty nice. Knights of the Round. Eh, I don't think I'm excited about that. I think I am. And where convergence is a thing. Just for those of you that haven't seen this before. Or is it actual WORM worm? No, I was right. Creatures with flying can't attack you or planeswalkers you control at the beginning of your end step. Create a worm. It's cute. It has seen play in the past. So I think I'm going to cut Decorum Dissertation from the deck. I have not been tutoring for this card in the games that I am playing. I am finding that it is more pressing to do something else, or that I don't have the life total to support this. I think I'm just going to straight up cut that. What's the 1-mana green lesson? I am not willing to change this to a Yorian deck list. That would be a pretty significant change from the donor's original version. Seismic Sense sounds right. So that can get in there. This can go out of there. I don't think I want to use a sideboard slot for Curse of Death's Hold. I don't think that's strong enough objectively for it. No, I don't think we play Eumidian Hatchery here. I did just record with a Eumidian Hatchery Nic Fit deck today. I don't remember if I uploaded it yet. YouTube members might have early access to that already. It was fine. I have wanted to wish for discard enough times recently that I'm going to do this. I don't know that we need 2 copies of Ruinous Waterbending in the board. In this specific shell, it also kills your Academy Rector, which is funny. Kaiser, if I could click a button to turn that off, I would turn that off in a heartbeat. That annoys me as well. So just know there's one video Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, every single time. I will loot with my learn cards over my dead body. Never. So on my end, I can tell you I set an ad to run every 10 to 15 minutes. So it's 2 in the first 15 minutes, and after that, every 10 to 15 minutes. And if YouTube is giving you more than that, that's on YouTube's end. That's not on my end. All right, let's work on this sideboard here. I am okay with the lesson column, I think. We get a few more cards to play around with. The biggest thing that stands out to me is Erode might need to come out in the combo matches. And we currently only have graveyard-oriented cards that I can board in. So I think this probably doesn't make it. Bidge, good luck with your RCQ. Ruinous Waterbending has definitely been a middling power level card that I think you still keep in the sideboard. You absolutely sometimes will lose to something like Energy after you cast this, but I think you still want it. Yeah, like Deafening Silence style cards are reasonable. I have a lot of discard. I need something else to supplement that. Um, Leyline of the Void specifically is problematic. We can hit Rest in Peace with this. If someone leylines us, like the Eye Twitches, Veteran Explorers, and Academy Rectors all get hit at the same time. Goif still gets power from the opponent's graveyard. That's, like, fine. I think my answer to Leyline is I just play Professor, get Origin of Metal Bending. It's a lot harder to hardcast the 9 mana enchantment when you don't get to Veteran Explorer, though. I still do think, because of the erode problem, the remaining 3 sideboard slots go towards combo. So, like, Deafening Silence, Disruptor Flute, Containment Priest. For spell-based combo, I need to be able to take Erode out of the deck. Flute is an okay catch-all. Deafening Silence is stronger in the matchups that it's good in, but doesn't hit everything. I could play something like Null Rod that covers artifact mana. I don't think High Noon is good if I don't have the red. I would just play Deafening Silence at that point. Opposition Agent is very slow. I would like my combo hate to come down on turn 1 or 2. Like, I want turn 1 to be Thoughtseize, Cabal Therapy, or another combo hate card. Yeah, I could also do something like Void Mirror if I very specifically want to target Tron. Damping Sphere. I could also choose not to play Leyline. Do different graveyard hate other than that. And free up more sideboard slots. Like, I could legitimately play Surgical Extraction in this deck with 8 main deck discard spells. I don't really hate that, actually. I could, in theory, run like 3 of those. Something like 2 Deafening Silence and 2 Disruptor Flutes. And then presumably some combination of Surgical, Deafening Silence, and Disruptor Flute reasonable to board in most combo matchups. To replace Erode. Alright, this looks pretty reasonable to me. I think being a 3-color deck that has Phyrexian Tower and Lazotep Quarry in it is going to generate some awkward hands where I can't cast my spells. The deck is land heavy at 23. Witherbloom Charm is the only thing that super requires a lot of mana. It may be that going down a couple of basics here makes sense. Like go down 1 swamp, 1 forest, play 6 total basic lands, play like an extra bayou, an extra savannah, or something like that. I think this deck is not seeking to get multiple veteran explorers through in most cases. I've recorded enough leagues where decks have fallen on their face because of mana. Be very hesitant about those 3 utility lands in a 3-color deck. I think I'm gonna trim some basics. -1, -2. Turn one of those into a bayou. Just looking at this, the other might actually be a scrub. No, we don't have any way to tutor for Rector. We have very little actual manipulation in this deck. We're trying not to mill over our big dumb things. Surveil land? 1 Surveil land is reasonable. I was thinking about that earlier. This one? I use the white for more, but the green entering untapped is a bigger deal. Because you want Veteran Explorer immediately. Alright, my brain is a potato. I've been working all day. Black-white Surveil land. That has failed the trivia quiz. Alright. Shadowy Backstreet. Well, morning to you then, Aperture. Oh, I definitely know them, but I've been working since, like, 6 this morning, so... I am late tired. Alright, that one looks pretty good to me. I think that is likely what I'm going to be able to get through for the day. If we do another one of these at some point, Tainted Pact was going to be the next thing on the list. But I've only got a few minutes left in me stream-wise, and I don't think I have the oomph to go through and brew a essentially 60-card singleton deck with you all. So, anything you all want to talk about before I call it a day here? I'm glad you all enjoyed. Thank you for spending a little bit of the tail end of your workday for many of you in the United States with me here. The next one of these I do will be on Friday, June 26th, and it will be a Celeste speedrun stream as one of the other incentives for my Trans Lifeline fundraiser. Yeah, presumably starting in July, these will become a more regularly scheduled thing. I have a bunch of things that I am doing right now to make the stream better on the back end and kind of set myself up for future success. So once that stuff is all done and in place, streams will become regular. All right, thank you all for your support today. I'm going to go ahead and call it here. Folks, I hope you have a great rest of the day and a wonderful weekend. And if you're in the giving mood, the donation matching for my Trans Lifeline fundraiser is live until Monday morning, and it caps at $6,000 matched. We're a little short of that as of right now, but we might get there over the weekend. My website is currently down. Will probably be back up later today, but if it's not, email philgallagher11@gmail.com works just fine for donation deck lists that you want to see on the channel. Have a great day, folks. See ya.